All right, so let's take a look at our cotangent function. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and fill in the table, keeping in mind that y is equal to cosine of x over sine of x this time. Okay, so at x equals 0, cosine is 1, but sine is 0, so this is undefined. Cotan of pi over 4 is going to be positive 1. Cotan of pi over 2 is going to be 0. Cotan of 3 pi over 4 is going to be negative 1. We're in the second quadrant. Cotan of pi is going to be undefined. If I'm going too fast, push pause, fill out the table yourself, and then come back and check. Okay, 5 pi over 4, third quadrant is going to be positive 1. 3 pi over 2 is 0. 7 pi over 4, fourth quadrant is negative 1. 2 pi is undefined again. Okay, so here we've got pi over 2, 3 pi, 2 pi over 2 is pi. So all of these are pi over 4s. So this is 2 pi here, 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 4, 5, 6 pi over 4 is 3 pi over 2, 7 pi over 4, and then 8 pi over 4. There are asymptotes now at 0. We're going to make this 1 and make this negative 1. So I have an asymptote at 0. I have an asymptote at pi. And I have an asymptote at 2 pi. Okay? Plotting in my points then, at pi over 4, we're at 1. Sorry, this is pi over 4. Pi over 4, we're at 1. Pi over 2 is 0. 3 pi over 4, we're at negative 1. 5 pi over 4, 1 again. 3 pi over 2, 0. 7 pi over 4, negative 1. And if we look, cotan is going to look, it is the reciprocal of tangent, so it should really be doing the opposite that tangent was doing. If you remember when we talked about reciprocals, the reciprocal function did the opposite of what the original function was doing. Okay, so here we have 2 periods of cotangent. Okay, let's talk about that then. The period of a cotangent is pi. It takes pi units before it starts repeating itself. Amplitude, there is none. The only 2 trig functions with an amplitude are sine and cosine. Domain. Domain happens all real numbers except at the pi's, at 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 0 pi, negative 1 pi. So it's all real numbers except in pi, where n is an element of the integers. Okay? Range is all real numbers. Okay? But one thing that we want to remember about cotangent is whereas tangent was an increasing function, cotangent is decreasing. Okay? So that's all we need to know about the parent function. I'll make a couple more videos, or at least one more video where I'm going over some examples of transformations and how we handle that. Okay?